Right now, it's Drew DeArmond. Drew, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome into the game here in T-Town.
Always great to be back on with you, Ryan. Thank you for the opportunity last week. To sit in the hot seat, as you know, it was a very interesting week leading up to the first scrimmage of fall camp 2018 for Alabama. Now we have the second one coming up on Saturday inside Bryant-Denny Stadium, and it seems to be all but over.
All right. So first things first, okay? Let's go to the quarterback competition. What are you hearing?
Well, as I told the listeners on Friday, the big question was this going to be Ali Frazier and go into, early into the season, or is this going to be Michael Spinks and Tyson over with within the first minute of the first round? Well, to me, it was Spinks Tyson, and it was over with, before we even got to the end of round one. 4 TDs, no INTs, Jalen Hurts, the man of his hand protect the football, 0 touchdowns, no TD drives at all, and 3 turnovers. This thing's over. This football team is number 13, and I think it has been since we struck 0, and Devontae Smith crossed the goal line back on January 8th.
And Drew, just keep in mind, there is now a water bottle sitting there waiting for Nick Saban. So, Drew, I hope you don't have too much plans here, because we may have to. Can you believe you might be getting hijacked by Nick Saban? I don't know if you have plans, but maybe we could hold you through. But it looks like there's going to be a water bottle that's going to be there in just a couple of seconds. So, I mean, could this be possible? Could Nick Saban be 15 minutes early?
Well, that means practice went really, really, really well.
So, I'm kind of caught here in a rock and a hard space here. I don't know what to. So let's continue here for just a couple of minutes and to go back. I'm sure you've heard what we've heard. It's Tua Tagovailoa has separated himself by a good country mile or the Grand Canyon, whatever you'd prefer.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about that. He's gone out and performed. This would have happened sooner, in my opinion, if he hadn't been hurt in the spring. But he certainly, picked up where he left off. From what we understand, he was, extremely efficient. He had a couple situations that could have been near turnovers. He came back strong, made outstanding throws, moved the football team, was in complete command. And I think, he's just a special talent, right? He's going to continue to get better and more confident in this offense and, go to the next level. And I think the most interesting part is we certainly understand the talent level of the wide receivers, 5 and 6 deep. But you heard a lot about the tight ends coming out of the scrimmage, especially Kedrick James, the sophomore from Waco. And I think we're already seeing the influence of Dan Enos on the offense and getting a very talented and yet underrated group of tight ends involved offensively.
Well, and that has been a big topic of so far this camp is how involved the tight ends are in practice. And that's
they're all. I think everybody's going to be intrigued to see, because if you watch Dan Enos in his career, especially at Arkansas with Hunter Henry and those guys, they always featured the tight end, and it was going to be interesting to see if that followed him to Tuscaloosa as he and Mike Locksley kind of try to build this offense.
And also, when you talk about running backs getting carries, what are you expecting going into the scrimmage? Do you feel like this is going to be one that's going to feature the running backs a little bit more than last weekend?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit more balanced. Certainly, Damian Harris will get 5 to 6 to 7 carries. You know what you have with him. I think you're going to continue to see more and more of Josh Jacobs, who, from what we understand, had the best scrimmage of any of the backs in the first go round last week. But they're really going to start looking Brian Robinson more and more. He's had a very solid spring in the ball. He's got a little mixed up because, what we understand, Williams won his goal a little bit. But I think, he's bounced back. He's a big, strong guy that would start, I think, at 75% of the SEC schools around the SEC, around the league. I think he's that talented, but they'll continue to create a role for him. And I think the biggest thing is Jerome Ford, because with Najee Harris likely out for the rest of fall camp for a couple of weeks, I don't expect to see him back until game week when they start preparing for Louisville. This allows them to develop Jerome Ford. He's got the 4-game redshirt rule. He's a fast, quick guy. You can teach him the offense. And then which which means his development is going to kind of be accelerated. I think that could help Alabama down the road. Because Ryan, we've all seen it. Alabama came into camp with 4 backs. Ford would be the 5th, and really the 6th when you think about Ronnie Clark. It does take a couple of weeks' worth of injuries to cut that in half. So developing Jerome Ford at this point will probably be an emphasis in scrimmage too.
All right, so as we go into a lot of different conversations here, let me ask you, is it a little bit of a shock that Alex Leatherwood's been moved to is been getting a lot of looks so far 12 days in at guard rather than maybe what we expected at tackle, or is that something that really didn't come to a surprise to you?
Well, I mean, I just felt like he was one of the best 5. And I think you and I both respect Mike Johnson as one of the best football analysts there is out there.
There he is, sure.
He is going to be a superstar in the business. And, just speaking to him throughout this summer, he felt like Leatherwood could fit at either tackle or guard. And he is, and he also was very high on Jedrick Wills' potential to be a tackle. And I think Alabama's taking a long look at that. They feel like Jedrick can play probably all 5 positions, and Leatherwood is simply too talented to not be among the first 5. Unfortunately, that may bump Matt Womack out of the lineup, but he'll still get playing time. It'll be a very valuable swing tackle, I believe. But I think it just comes, under the moniker that you want to get your best 5 out there, and Leatherwood is too athletic and too good not to be one of those. And certainly, it will only help him in the long run, Ryan, if he can play both tackle and guard. And what I mean by that is once he turns professional, because I think we all believe Alex Leatherwood has a long-term NFL future.
Let me ask you about Womack. Is it just is he fighting uphill? We watched him last year be very dominant in the run blocking side of the game, but really struggled at pass pro. Just your thoughts about Womack.
Exact same scenario as Jalen Hurts. They have recruited guys that are more athletic and a little bit better football players, but he's certainly going to be valuable. Unlike quarterback, you can rotate in offensive linemen, and it's not going to hurt you. He's still got a guy that can play in the National Football League. You look at J.C. Hassenauer and what he's doing with the Atlanta Falcons right now. He really only played a lot last year, but he can still be a very valuable commodity. Even though he's 6'7", in a pinch, he could probably play some guard, but certainly he's an offensive tackle. He was an all-SEC level guy last year, and again, he's one injury away from being back and being among, those starters. So I think he's very valuable. Alabama's going to, I think, kick the heck out of some people early in this season, which means he's going to get a lot of reps, stay sharp. So he's still a very valuable piece to the puzzle, Ryan, because you can't replace experience, and he has enough talent to be a guy that you can count on that can play at an all-SEC type level.
We're talking to Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone in Huntsville, Alabama. We're waiting Nick Saban. He is not at that podium. And Drew DeArmond's seen a big taste of what I have to deal with at this Nick Saban live press conference, because you never know when he's going to stand at the podium. But we will take you to the Malmore Football Complex as soon as he does that. Drew, let's go to the defensive side of the football. And let's spend a little time talking about outside backers. I was there 2 days this week, and Anthony Jennings is a guy that if he can go back and play with the same confidence that he had in New Orleans, he can be a big-time player and take his game to the next level.
Well, I think so, and I think one of the most encouraging parts of scrimmage number 1, Ryan, is we heard 2 sacks from Chris Allen, who also had an outstanding spring. We heard about Ayabi Anoma wreaking havoc as a true freshman, even though he, had what we understand, slightly a tweak of a lower leg injury that may have bothered him a little bit toward the end, but still, did some very good things. Hearing that he had 2 to 3 sacks, and either one of those guys are your starter. Because you got Christian Miller, who's grinded, who's healthy now, who they completely trust, who I think has mastered both inside and outside positions. And then you got a mule like Anthony Jennings, and when I call him a mule, that is a compliment. He is basically Denzel DeVal, but a better pass rusher. I still think he can develop into a guy like Ryan Anderson, who could be maybe a second-round draft choice after this season. He's not the greatest athlete of all these backers, like an Ayabi Anoma perhaps, or a Chris Allen, but he's a very, very high, IQ football player. He's come a long way. I think he and Christian Miller both are future NFL guys, and I think there's a reason Nick Saban brought Anthony Jennings to SEC Media Days, and that is complete trust in what you think you're going to get out of that young man from Dadeville, Alabama this season, as long as he stays healthy for the Tide.
Going to Isaiah Buggs, was pretty impressed last night with rolling with the Tide, and I know it was a simple 30-second soundbite, but it was also, you remember, those are scripted, and it's not about just what he did. It's playing that clip that adds that extra responsibility of leadership to Isaiah Buggs.
Yeah, he's now very comfortable. Jaron Reed, the sequel here. Jaron Reed became a leader of that defensive line, ended up going in the second round of the Seattle Seahawks, is now a starter for them. Buggs is very comfortable now. He really had his coming out moment. With Reed, it was as a junior against Florida in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Last year for Buggs, it was a 10-plus tackle performance in College Station against Texas A&M. He's a guy that's very versatile. He can play inside and out on a 3 or a 4-man front. He and Raekwon, I think, will be the best duo of defensive linemen in the SEC. Certainly, I think Brian Ray is ready to make that turn. And I mentioned Quinnen Williams earlier in our conversation. Quinnen, I think this is going to be a breakout year for him. I think their top 4 guys are already decided. They just have to try to develop maybe Tavita Masaika and Johnny White, Fedarian Mathis. They need to add to that that foursome right there. But if they do, I think they can have a very good defensive line in Tuscaloosa, no doubt about it.
Drew, man, a big thank you there. I did not realize that Nick Saban was going to jump in and Nick Saban bumped you. I mean, so that's a Twitter bio update that you've been bumped by Nick Saban. How about that?
I'll gladly step aside for the best college football coach to ever walk a sideline. Certainly I thought it was some interesting comments. I think he would never admit this, and I even asked Cecil Hurst this morning on my show about if he was pleased with where the team was. It sounded like, for the most part, he likes where they are right now. Of course, they've still got a lot of work to do, especially in the secondary. But thought he seemed pleased with the kicking game, and Jeff Banks very encouraged about that. I think that's one area under Nick Saban where Alabama at times has not been up to par. But it sounds like he's a quality addition to the coaching staff, no question about that. And then I thought you heard a lot of forethought and vision from Nick Saban. And Ryan Fowler, I wonder how much you could get if you auctioned off on a Nick Saban napkin.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, we might be able to help raise that $600 million that Greg Byrne is trying to raise.
Well, he and Miss Terry certainly got that off to a nice start with a $1 million donation of their own.
All right. So let me ask you, I'm going to play an audio clip here. I think Marquise, if we could work that last clip in. This is Nick Saban. I want you to listen to this closely and tell me what you grabbed from this comment from Nick Saban.
Well, I don't expect it to be an easy decision. We have 2 guys that are great competitors. They're both really good players. They've both had, good fall camps. So I don't expect it to be easy. And I want them to continue to compete and work hard and do well. And our coaches are working hard to help each one of those guys be the best player that they can be, and we're going to continue to do that. And like I said before, if both guys can contribute to our team, we'll certainly utilize that the best way we can.
He's talking about easy decision. It may not be an easy decision, but Tua Tagovailoa is making it easier.
Well, I mean, it's not an easy thing to have to bench someone that's 26-2 and won a lot of football games for you over the last 2 years. But bottom line is it's going to happen. I mean, this is Tua Tagovailoa's football team. This offense is, under his complete command. I think Dan Enos is ecstatic with the way Tua is developing. I think he's going to continue to just improve and get better. Jalen Hurts has kind of plateaued in a way. You could say he's regressed. But in his defense, I think it's because the offense doesn't fit his skill set. If you want to harken back, and this may be something to ask Tyler Watt, he played in the system, but I still think Jalen Hurts' best fit offensively is what Dennis Franchione did at Alabama in the early 2000s, from 2001 and 2002, because of his ability to run and then design a play-action passing game where the windows are huge and guys usually are wide open and you can hit them. But again, I just think overall this is Tua's team. It has been for a while, and it's never easy to have to, make a change like that when a guy has meant a lot to your football team the last 2 years. but there's about to be a new era in Tuscaloosa, and it's one that I think is going to be maybe the most fun that we've seen so far under Nick Saban, because this will be the first time, this is no disrespect to A.J. McCarron, who we all hope and believe will be the starting quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, but this will be the first elite quarterback at the helm in Tuscaloosa in the modern era.
All right, so we're going to spend a lot of time looking at this renovation, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Your thoughts of that? And then we'll, I promise you, we're going to hit basketball before we leave out. I know you're dying to hit basketball, so let's hit Bryant-Denny. Or do you want to hit Coleman Coliseum first? Your choice. Just take a stab at it.
Well, I mean, I'm excited about the Bryant-Denny renovation. Certainly, they're trying to improve the fan experience, trying to improve the ability, the crowd flow inside the stadium. I certainly don't think it's going to hurt anything to downsize to about 92,000 seats, certainly. And the new scoreboard in the south end zone looks spectacular. I mean, it's a huge deal. I'm sure the Auburn people won't be too happy with it, considering that their Rent-A-Center board is part of their centerpiece at Jerkin-Hare Stadium. But the bottom line is that they're kind of landlocked and they can't do a whole lot to improve the facility at Jerkin-Hare, while Alabama continues to be at the forefront of college football. I certainly think that it's going to help recruiting. Certainly, when you think about improving the locker rooms and improving the training rooms in Alabama, Jeff Allen's already the athletic trainer of the year. Certainly, it's make everything continue to do more to help the players develop and come back from injuries, such as the one Najee Harris has right now. I'm sure they'll have it ready for the first game. So I think it's the old Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last. And Alabama is never satisfied under Nick Saban, and they're going to continue to improve, whether it be the football facility, the Mount Moore facility, or it would be Bryant-Denny Stadium. They're going to continue to have the finest facility in all college football. And they really had to do something because of all the money that Texas A&M has spent. So we'll see. So I think it's some wise moves. And then basketball-wise, it's a long overdue. It's going to be what I've told people is it's a similar situation to what they did in baseball. You're basically gutting the facility and completely rebuilding it, just maybe keeping the roof over it. But certainly it's going to cut down capacity from a little over 15,000 to it sounds like around 10. It's going to be much more intimate, much louder. And I think it's going to be one of those things where when you see the vision of Greg Byrne, and this is probably going to happen, I guess, around 2021, it's going to be one of the big things that I think is going to keep Avery Johnson here. It's going to continue to improve the program. I think you're going to see basketball hopefully go to the next level. And one of the pieces of that puzzle is Kyra Lewis, who signed with Alabama yesterday. Is enrolling early, get to senior year of high school from Hazel Green. I was able to be at the signing yesterday, and then we had him on Talking Ball this morning for his first extended radio interview, and he will be enrolling next, this weekend, and his first day of class will be Wednesday. So North Alabama is going to be well represented in the Tide this year, as we see John Petty as a sophomore, Tyler Lewis as a freshman, and then, of course, the senior from Albertville, Valley North. So really fired up for basketball, and I think they can go back to the NCAA tournament for a second straight time, and hopefully maybe even get to the second weekend. I mean, it's a fun time to be an Alabama fan all the way around, and a big part of that is the vision and the foresight of athletic director Greg Byrne.
Drew, I need some help, okay? And I promise you this will be the last question. I got one of the most unique requests just a couple of minutes ago via a text message that I believe I've received in all my interview requests, okay? I get a text message from Seattle, Washington, wants me to come on tonight and break down what Auburn fans are really like.
Wow. Now that is an interesting request there, Ryan.
I looked at it on my phone and I said, what? Well, first off, he said, I want you to come on and talk about Auburn and Washington. And I'm like, I mean, what do you want me to? I mean, I don't cover the Auburn Tigers, man. I mean, we're in Tuscaloosa. We hit Auburn and move, right? I mean, I know they announced a series with UCLA and Baylor, but I don't know a lot about the Auburn Tigers. I said, you got to be freaking kidding me, man. There's no way. He goes, no, I want you to explain to our fans what Auburn's really about. And I'm like, oh, man, I got this. Perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. Just tell them about the museum.
No. The museum that doesn't exist. All right, so I gotta run, man. But I appreciate you. I don't. Hey, what do you think I should tell them about Auburn? I mean, what's the one thing that I should say?
Well, I mean, I guess they measure themselves on whether they beat Alabama. It doesn't even matter about championships at Auburn, because they're still glowing in the fact that they beat Alabama last year, and the Crimson Tide are national champions and Auburn state champions. That's the difference between the two schools. They only worry about beating Alabama and being able to measure up and think they measure up with the Crimson Tide. While Alabama is always, especially with Nick Saban at the helm, worried about the next game, worried about the future, and worried about improving their facilities. They can't even raise enough money right now at Auburn to improve their indoor facility or stadium. They've had a quote-unquote capital campaign going on for years and can't raise enough money to get it done.
Yeah, but I did say one thing. I sent him another thank you, and I said, thanks for the 5-star linebacker, and he gave me a bird.
Oh, well, Brandon Ale Cahill. Really excited about him. He's finally in pads, Ryan. I've heard you guys talking about him today. I think he'll help Alabama in 2019. You probably will see him later in the year due to the 4-game redshirt rule. Maybe get on the field in backup capacity and on special teams. And I think really you'll see him next spring start to assert himself. And I think he's going to be a defensive standout, especially with the likelihood that this will be the final fall for Max Wilson to stay healthy in a Crimson Tide uniform.
Drew DeArmond, Drew D977 ESPN, Drew D977 ESPN, talking ball 7 until 9 there in the Rocket City and throughout the rest of the universe on TuneIn Radio. Drew, I appreciate you being patient. Didn't realize Nick Saban was going to bump you a little bit. I appreciate you being patient with us. Thank you, sir, and I'll see you Saturday.
Absolutely good. Look forward to seeing you this weekend, and aloha to you and Marquis.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.